Hey there. Today, we're going to explore a really simple idea that can bring a lot of calm and clarity to pretty much any project you're working on, whether that's a big term paper or just a group assignment. You know that feeling, right? That sinking in your stomach when you realize all those hours of work were kind of pointed in the wrong direction. It's so frustrating. It feels like such a waste of energy. But what if there was a way to sort of check your compass before you start the journey? A way to make sure all that effort is going exactly where it needs to go, right from the very beginning. Well, it turns out there is, and it comes from a place you probably wouldn't expect. Okay, let's dive in. This whole concept we're talking about today, which has the fancy name requirements validation, really just boils down to one simple but really powerful question. So, this slide gets right to the heart of it. A while back, a software engineer named Barry Boehm made this brilliant distinction. He separated the idea of verification from validation. Now, verification is about doing things correctly. Are we building the product right? You can think of it like spell checking your paper. It's super important for sure, but it isn't the whole story. Validation asks a much deeper question. Are we building the right product? It's all about direction. It's making sure your perfectly spell-checked essays actually answering the prompt. And that's what we're talking about today. Requirements validation. It's really just the simple, gentle process of checking in to make sure that what you're planning to build is what's actually needed. It's about understanding the real goal before you get lost in all the little details. And look, this isn't some big, complicated, formal process. Not at all. It's really just a mindset. It's about pausing and asking a few quiet, powerful questions to make sure you're on the right path from the get-go. So, let's look at the first one of those questions. So the very first principle is all about making sure nothing important gets left out. This is the fundamental question of completeness. Before you even start writing or building anything, you just ask, have we accounted for all the pieces? In the engineering world, yeah, they call this a completeness check. But you don't need to be an engineer to use the idea. It's just about scanning your outline or your plan to make sure all the essential parts are actually there. Okay, let's make this real. Imagine you're working on a group history paper. Your team gets together and you meticulously outline the sections on the causes and the major events. Everyone's on board, ready to start writing. But then, one person does a quick completeness check against the professor's actual assignment sheet and realizes you've completely forgotten a required section on the revolution's aftermath. Boom. That simple check just saved the whole group from losing a massive chunk of their grade. It's all about making sure everyone is looking at the same complete picture before the work even begins. Okay, so once you're sure you have all the pieces of the puzzle, the next step is to make sure they actually fit together. And that brings us to our second principle. This is the question of consistency. See, it's not enough just to have all the parts. They have to connect in a way that makes sense, creating a logical, coherent whole. A consistency check is basically just hunting for contradictions. You're looking for any places where one part of your plan accidentally clashes with another part. Here's another perfect example. Let's say your group is writing up a lab report. One person writes the introduction, and they state the experiment was done at 20 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, another person is writing the methodology section, and they describe the procedure happening at 50 degrees. Now, both sections might be perfectly well written on their own, but when you put them together, they create a huge contradiction that just makes the whole report look sloppy and unreliable. A quick consistency check would catch that in a heartbeat. You know, when every piece supports the others, the entire project just becomes so much more sound, more believable. And that brings us to our final and maybe the most important principle. This one is all about grounding your plan in the real world. This is the question of realism. It's that moment of honest self-assessment about what you can actually, truly accomplish. A realism check just means looking at your grand plan and weighing it against your actual constraints. And for a student, that's usually not about budget or technology. It's about things like time, energy, the skills you have right now, and all the other deadlines you're juggling. Oh, this is a classic. A student plans to build this huge, amazing social media app for their final project. The ambition is awesome, right? But the deadline is 1 week away, and they've never written a line of code in their life. The plan is just, it's not realistic. It's setting them up for a whole lot of stress and probably failure. A quick realism check would help them scale that goal back to something that's still challenging, but is actually achievable. Being realistic isn't about limiting yourself. It's actually about being kind to your future self.
It's about setting goals that lead to success and learning, not to total burnout. So, how do we pull all this together into something simple that you can actually use?
So here it is, your simple checklist. Before you dive into that next project, whether it's big or small, just take a moment, pause, take a breath, and gently ask yourself these three little questions. Is my plan complete? Is it consistent? And is it realistic? The simple act of just pausing to think, that's the whole heart of validation. It's not about adding more work, it's about adding clarity. It makes sure all your hard work is pointed in the right direction, which leads to better results and hopefully a much calmer, more enjoyable process along the way. Thank you so much for listening.